only got ad hoc committees, is, so I removed both standing and ad hoc, and it just be, all committees shall be appointed by the chair, and then the addition of this line, that eliminates, section 4.3, these may include library building development, director search, bylaws, or other necessary committees. And then 4.4 becomes 4.3, and ad hoc is removed, and it just says committee meetings and agendas must be posted, et cetera. And change
I think
that
that's
to
much easier to read.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
No ambiguity.
that's it. Not reading it again.
Thank you.
We just need a motion to accept the amendments, and then the new amendments to the bylaws
Will be
that we would
approved
approve in October.
in October.
Yep, good.
I make
So
a motion to
I was just gonna
approve.
say.
I second. Sounds good.
All in favor?
All in favor, yes.
Aye.
Aye.
It's been a long day today, although that's never something I remember as it is. All right, moving along to Crawford Corner. Did anybody have any lighting? I'm going to move to B first. Any lighting options? I know Drusilla was going to be on that.
I had some fun looking at lighting options, and I found there are a number of ways you could go with lighting. I was particularly looking at like path lighting,
Mhm.
the bollard lighting. So I printed out a couple of the ones that I found that I liked.
Yep.
Very different styles.
All of them?
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of fun when you start looking at landscape lighting companies, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. I just want to say that the middle photo on this did not print particularly well, but I liked that the styles can they showed it in a couple of other settings, and it can vanish into plantings. So unlike some of the big concrete bollards that you're like, hello, there is a light. So I will pass that around. That was my stop and look at lighting.
And while people are looking at that kind of lighting, what are the board's thoughts on lighting besides this lighting, overall lighting, security lighting for the area? Are we gonna have lighting like to overlook, like spotlights, or are we just gonna have this lighting? I don't know what people's
My
thoughts
concern with
are.
spotlights would be the neighbors.
Right.
Yeah.
If
Well, it
you're
depends
all-
on where they're directed. You can
Oh,
have.
but trust me, they're suddenly gonna go from having a dark lot to having light. That's what happened in my neighborhood, and it's been very
Yes,
disruptive.
but I wouldn't want it on a motion detector. I would say if we were having a,
Oh, yes, certainly for having an
Programming.
event, but like security lighting that was on 24/7,
Oh, no.
that was on,
No.
Yeah.
it's gonna really bother the neighbors.
Yeah.
Well, and probably pretty unnecessary, right? Like, if we find we have problems, then we can
Then you
install
could,
something.
yeah.
But
But I
at the
don't-
moment, it doesn't seem like it's a big concern.
We will have security cameras
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Right.
You can add a camera easily enough. Incidentally, the
All
Rockburn.
our parking lot lights still stay on all night.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And our
Yeah.
cameras do,
Yeah.
night vision switch, so you don't even need the lights on.
so the current system that we have with cameras,
Has space
we
for
can add how many more?
three, I believe it's 3 more.
How many are on that side of the building right now? One?
Oh, God, I'd have to go pull it up.
I would say 2. I think one from each
Well,
of
there's-
that corner heads that.
But then there's
that way.
one that covers the back driveway
Uh,
shed area
Yeah.
as well. I think there's 3. There might be a 4th one that covers part of that
Yeah,
area.
that's just it. But-
There are a lot of cameras.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a lot of
So
security cameras.
adding an additional camera.
Yeah, no, we have a couple of
be
empty slots, so that's not a
doable.
problem.
But that's.
As long as the cameras still exist and you can
Well,
buy an additional
considering
camera that fits.
considering
They don't
that
have a
Gino from Rockburn, which is in Tolland, by the way, so he's not that far. They were able to get a new camera for us to replace the
Awesome.
one that's been out. So I'm assuming
Mhm.
Okay.
that he's not like keeping them in a shed.
Yep.
Although if he is and he has more of them, I don't really care so long as he
Right.
can get more. But so the cameras are not an issue. We can add more. my theory would be that we wait until we know what the space is gonna look like and then have him come look at where he would recommend
Putting one.
putting them
placing
for
one.
best coverage
Mhm.
of the area.
But would it be something that would need to be, that it's at the beginning of construction, because if they need to dig the wires, if there were one pole in the middle or something?
Well,
that
we're
we
gonna
would-
have, I mean, if we have like power out there, I mean, I'm certain when the building was built, I know we've added cameras since the building was built. There's 2 phases, according to what Gino told me, so you just gotta run a wire down or over to the pole.
Okay.
I mean, if we're gonna have lighting all over the place, we're gonna have wires all over the place anyway, so.
But putting in it now versus later was what I think she means. It's
Right.
like, do we
Yeah.
need to know
Right.
ahead of time?
Right,
Like,
because in the construction phases, if it's
Yeah,
gonna be, they're
I
gonna
think
have to
that's
dig
what
up
you were trying
something,
to-
kind of a
yeah.
walkway that
Yep.
needs
Yeah.
to be there.
I would coordinate it with the electrical, because I mean, you're gonna have.
I mean,
you
I
know,
would assume that
electrical,
would
we bring
be-
it out there,
Yeah.
they're gonna go under, they're going by.
That would be part of the,
Same time.
when the electrical engineer comes out anyway,
Yeah.
that's part of his job, is to
Exactly.
figure out what he needs to know and
Yeah.
when he needs to know it.
okay. Okay. An update on the Mausler fund, were you
The
able to reach?
maximum amount that they will fund is $50,000.
Okay.
And they do not, from what I understand, often give the maximum amount.
Mm, mm. Right.
The fund, the grant was already given out this
Mhm.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but their maximum, the maximum amount that they could give if they wanted to is 50,000.
Yeah, it says 550,000.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what's that?
That's fine,
that's fine.
And then sculpture update.
I have no, the
They've-
Crawfords, we're gonna talk, but they have not, that I know of, made any.
No,
decisions.
they've chatted with
Yeah.
Maddie
Yeah.
Lord about the fact that they'd like her to do it. They've, but other than that,
I think it's a
So
mutual,
we still don't have
like
any
to-
idea on a theme or any.
no,
where
well,
they're
I
going
think it
yet.
very much waits for us to say, I did show them the last set of drawings we got and
Mhm.
said this is the space for it to go, so they have seen that, which gives them some idea of scale,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Okay.
Actually, a couple of years ago, we went to a show in Providence, and I saw a sculpture there of a human standing in Raven Foot. And it was by Maddie Lord before I even knew who
Oh,
Maddie
wow.
Lord was.
Yeah.
So
Was it a wire one or?
No.
she uses random objects.
found metal objects, yeah.
And they're like recycles?
Together.
Yep,
It
yep.
was abstract, kind of, but
Yep.
you knew clearly it was a figure of Raven Foot.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting.
That would fit well, right?
All right, so getting down to the budget.
May I interject for one moment?
Of course.
I am trying, and let me know what you think. Colby needs to do his Eagle Scout project. And he has one in mind, but if that one falls through, I am trying to get him to see if he would do the storyboard for us.
Oh, wonderful.
Wow.
For his Eagle project.
My gosh, so he has to plan it, raise funds for it, and all of that? Isn't that typically what an Eagle project is?
I'm not exactly sure, because he's
Okay.
like, he just got life, so he's like literally at the beginning.
Yep.
I think, as far as I know, well, my husband's a carpenter, you know that.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming that he and Colby would design the storyboard with input from, obviously from you, what they would want.
Yeah.
And
Lita.
I'm not sure where the funding would come from.
Okay.
I don't know if that would be something that, like, if you all, like, if the project paid for the materials, obviously his time would be
Yep.
donated.
Yep.
Then we would need to know about, like, who would be responsible for placing them. Like,
Mhm.
would he have to do?
Installing them.
Right,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
so, but like I said, that he has another project that he wants to do, that he's
Mhm.
looking into,
Mhm.
but I did mention it to him, and he thought it was a good idea.
Yep.
So I wanted to let you guys know that I did throw it out there.
Mhm. Thank you.
Because I know we talked about Bay Path.
Bay Path. Mhm.
So, and I think it would be a cool project for him to do, but
I
who
did
am
talk,
to-
I did talk to Lita and I asked her, like, they have 25 listed in the budget. And I asked her, like, there's certain programming that you do that, oh, these books fit in a 25 stack or a 20, you know what I mean? And she said that really didn't matter, and she said, 20 would be better than 25. And she also thought that there's a possibility that, definitely can run it by her, that some of them could be bigger, and then some of them could be small, so that could reduce.
Oh, so you could fit more pages.
Yeah. My only concern is the space just isn't, it seems like it's really
25 is a
big.
lot.
It's really not that big of a lot. And 25 to me was overwhelming. I just thought, where are you gonna put 25? And I just felt, so she said that, she thought 20 would be okay and it could be reduced, but that would be her input, as to how many. And it depends on size. So I don't know whether we have Drusilla or Lita contact Bay Path to see about, I think now's it takes a while to start those kinds of things. So
And they have
I
to
don't
build it into
know.
their curriculum too.
Yeah, so I don't know what the thoughts are.
I don't know if there's a process to putting in a
To
request.
apply,
Yeah.
to put in a request for a job. I don't,
Well,
I can check.
sure.
Yeah, we should start with size and number, right? So maybe we should.
Well, we
ask the-
probably need to know, is there a look that
Yeah.
we're going for
Yeah.
first?
That would be
Right.
important. to
You
know.
can't say, we want to have you build these things and
Actually,
have them
I just want to know the process.
have them make
of the
something
request.
up that's going
Yep.
to look hideous, and
Right.
clash with everything
Well, I
else.
definitely want.
Because they were giving us other options. They were
Yeah.
talking
Yes.
last month about different types of.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
So.
the process might be tell us in the summer and we'll
Yeah,
find, we'll have them for
exactly.
the spring and then it's just irrelevant, right? So.
So you all had the budget that they presented. So they're asking us for a budget to come up with a figure. So I kind of have their budget here, and then I've done it with reduction in budget. I left the soft costs the same in all of my my work out here. Because the soft costs are just basically estimates and that can change, so I just left it at the amount that they have. When I look at 667, I cringe.
My husband was
And-
like, do you see the house next door?
On
That's
what?
what the house
I know.
on 6 acres
Mhm.
next door that's 3
You can
bedrooms,
build a
3-car
beautiful
garage.
home
Yeah.
for $400,000,
For-
$500,000, and we are not putting up a house. We're not putting in a foundation. I really think we need to strongly consider a reduction in budget. And I went 10% below their budget. I did 15%, 20%, and 25%. And I am still willing to go more when I look at these figures and think we're not putting up a building.
Another really important thing to note, because we've said it at every meeting, but we've never actually acknowledged it. We have no solid plans for how we will continue landscaping, right? We're just kind of always it really needs to be
Maintenance
self-taken care of.
Yeah.
I went to the Acton Arboretum a couple of months back, and they have full-time staff. They're there all the time, and you look and you see poison ivy, invasives. So maybe one of the things to consider even with budget is we also might need to consider that we will probably need to pay someone, right, at some point for
Mhm.
some landscaping.
You mean ongoing,
beyond
yeah.
mowing, but
Right.
there will be an ongoing cost here of
Seasonal upkeep.
some
Mhm.
seasonal, at least, a fall cleanup,
Yeah.
you
Right,
know,
exactly. That's what I'm
pulling
saying.
invasives,
Picking leaves,
Yep.
obviously.
we have, Oriental bittersweet in our backyard, and we pull it out every year.
Yeah.
Hundreds of hours, it comes right back. So, I don't know how much that costs, but
Mhm.
while we're talking about budget, I just figured we should
We've got to think about that.
think
Yep.
about that.
Well, the town is currently apparently using prison labor for some of the landscaping around town hall, so,
I think the church has used it as well.
yeah.
They've used,
And a bunch of the weeding and stuff is now being done by prison
Yep.
labor.
So maybe that's something to
They've also
ask
mowed,
how that
the
works.
guy who mowed our lawn last time was not a town employee. He was very nice, but clearly was not allowed to talk to us.
Oh.
Because, well, Lita and I were out there doing some stuff, and we waved, and he kind of, put his head down and kept going. And there was a town employee supervising, so I think he was told, don't talk to the library patrons, and of course, he doesn't know who we are, so.
Boy.
So, any discussion on my figures? I mean, I did this at like 10:30 at night, so I hope the figures are correct. But just to give you an idea, reducing it at 10% brings it in at $608,000. 15% brings it to $578,000. 20% reduction brings it to $548,000, and a 25% reduction brings it down to $518,000. And that figure is going to go up. They have that contingency, and the soft costs are not, like, we don't know. That can grow. We have no idea when they start digging what they hit over there. There's ledge.
That happened at the library site too.
Yeah,
Yep.
right there.
Yep. So
When you and I talked, I definitely said yes to the whole idea of reduction, and I said somewhere between 10 and 20%, I think we should be thinking about. And
So,
20% would probably be the
I don't know, I just still think
Right.
$548,000. And there's not a building going up over there.
Yeah,
There's
but
not
no,
a-
like I've said from day one, I told from day one, this was a $500,000 project.
Yeah, maybe we just say, look, let's try and stick around $500,000. Like, you knew it. Some of the initial people, you guys had said that, like, another firm had come up and said it would
Had
be
came
about
up
Oh, yeah.
at just about $500,000.
500,000.
Yeah.
Yep.
about that.
So, I mean, if the reasonable amount is somewhere around 500,000, and we know it's gonna go up, it's I mean, maybe it'll go down, but like,
We know.
realistically,
Yeah, I know. It's
you know,
not
it never
gonna-
does.
No.
So,
So 518,000 is asking for a 25% reduction. 550, this is 20%.
So that seems reasonable to me, and just makes them work harder to figure out how to do this.
Mhm.
There are a lot of things in there that I thought, well, do we need all of that anyway, you know? And
Yeah.
it can be done cheaper, they just gotta put their little
Mhm.
thinking caps on and
Yep.
give up on some of the blue sky stuff, because
And,
There are
and
clouds.
things can be done down, there are
Yeah.
definitely things we can add, people could donate
yeah.
to, certain things.
And we're looking at, a rise in prices across the board
Yep.
everywhere.
Yep.
And I don't know, that's just beginning.
I know.
Right,
Absolutely.
Materials are gonna
Yep.
go way up.
well, and, just to put in a positive note, like, there's a lot to be said for open space. We were at the Charlton Library yesterday, and they just redid their children's room, and they removed so much of their stuff, and they opened it up, and they have, like, just very simple, like, wooden things. And the way that the children play with open space versus, like, so much stuff there, and everyone's amazed with it. It's beautiful, it's great, look at how the kids play. So, like, maybe less is more in some ways, if we can, like you said, we can always add a bench later. So I think, Drusilla said 500,000 to begin with. I trust you. I think you did a lot of projects, you know where this, is about. So if we come back and we say, all right, 700,000 is kind of high-end ballpark, right? Like,
Mhm.
and like you said, it's gonna go up. We know it's gonna go
We
up.
know it's gonna go
So,
up.
if we say 540 and then it goes up to 700,000, man, at least we said 540 and then we didn't say 700, it went up to 1 million, right? So,
they'll have to justify quite heavily after
Yeah.
we say this.
Yeah.
yeah.
Once we give them a budget, they're gonna have to come back and
That's right.
convince us of raising it.
Yeah.
So what do we want to present to them?
This is the listing of the prices we got back when it was
Oh,
bid.
good.
There was only one that bid the whole project.
Build the whole project.
Pick a number.
Failure of reading comprehension on
Yeah,
that one,
they-
yes.
We were just supposed to bid the design part of it.
And now we're like, man, they should land design.
Which?
Ford was it? 496.
Oh, yep.
A little too proactive there, huh?
Yeah, well, it was like, I was a little worried about them because the RFP specifically
He
said
said something.
it was for the service, not for the whole project, and that,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, well, and this says that their, their fees are like 60,000, so, that means that 600,000 is just kind of like the stuff,
Mhm.
right? So, I don't know.
Is everybody comfortable with asking for 25% reduction? Is there anybody who would rather do 20?
Should we just say 500,000 and let them come back at us?
Yeah.
Pick a nice round number, 500,000, tell them to come back at, give
We
them
know,
time
we know
between
it's
now
gonna
and
go
then.
up.
We know it's
We
gonna go
do
up.
know it's
Yeah.
gonna go up.
They
and-
just explain themselves really well,
Yeah.
why we can't do this for 500,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure
I
that they
definitely
really
agree with
will.
that.
you know?
Right? Like, some hard stuff they would probably say like, okay, well, this is
I
definitely
mean, there are
with
certain
costs,
things,
right?
right, yeah, there are
But
costs. that-
they were really clear that this is like, an 8 out of 10.
An 8 out of 10, I'm so glad the question was asked,
You
because,
know.
we know they're
You
up here.
asked it, Ben, thank you.
Yeah, that was a good
That was a
question.
very good question.
So we can bring it down to a, average, a 5 or a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, or a 4 town.
Well, we have such a good space to work with, right?
Yeah.
Like, everything is just based on that
Right,
space too,
right.
so. Yeah.
So is everyone in agreement
I am.
that we
I
will
think so.
present, we will request
Yep.
then of them 500,000
Okay.
will be
Yep.
the,
And are we asking them to come back next month? Because they plan to come back next month, correct?
I
so.
believe they are
That's
coming back
Because they
next
just went
month.
up and they come back, and
Mhm.
so,
So now that if Drusilla presents them with
Give them
that,
time
give
to-
them, yep, a month too.
we're probably gonna have to be ready to make some decisions at
Yeah.
that night,
Right.
because,
Yep.
we want to keep on the schedule, yeah.
Yep.
And are we supposed to be starting to look for contractors in our area too?
So I
rather
actually
than
was
them?
going to, under MLA update.
Yep,
I
okay.
heard from Amy.
Yep.
We've given them an arborist and an electrical engineer,
Mhm.
but only one of each, because they're the ones that, so if anybody knows of, in the area, an arborist or an electrical engineer, please send me those names, because they're starting to compile, they're drafting the RFPs and they're starting to compile the list of who to send them to.
So you said,
They also, we will also need, so again, if you know anybody or know of a firm, a structural engineer, a civil engineer. We'll just hire my cousin, the civil engineer. Maybe he'll do it pro bono. And a plumbing/irrigation specialist. So as they're drafting the RFPs, they also are starting to work on the list of where to send them. And I will be sending something out to the CW Mars Directors Listserv to ask if anybody's worked with any of those people, so that I have, possible other names.
Yep.
But, they, obviously, MLA has their own list that they send them out to, but if there's anybody local that you know of.
so can you just list again who you're looking for?
Arborist, electrical engineer, structural engineer, civil engineer, and a plumbing or irrigation specialist.
Okay.
And I would say if you can get any names to me by the end of the week so that we can get moving, that would be good.
Okay.
Are you looking for names that we personally can attest are good?
I
or
mean,
just names
either if somebody that you know and is good, I mean, I think that would be good to know, but also if you're like, well, I drive by this structural engineering company
Right.
every day and they're local, I can look up reviews.
Okay.
If we're like, I just know about this person.
And say I can ask around for like if anyone knows anyone, but then I don't want to be like,
Yeah.
I know this person's great.
I actually have a couple of names for arborists because my uncle used to be an arborist. But I have to call, it's on my list for this week, I have to call and see if they work in Massachusetts because they're licensed in Connecticut, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how arborist licenses work. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it goes across the state lines or not.
I think some do. I know, well, there's always trees down on the pond, and it seems like a lot of them are Connecticut.
Yeah, like I said,
companies.
the
So
ones
it's
that
right
my
there.
the ones that my uncle recommended in particular, I was like, well, I'll give MLA their name if I know that they can. But there's no point if they can't work in Massachusetts.
Right.
But anyhow, so they are drafting the RFPs, and we'll probably have those to me this week so that I can send them to you guys so you can look them over, and see if there's anything. I mean, I'm guessing they're the pretty boilerplate RFPs for these specialties, but I'll send the drafts out to the board once I have them. But the big thing is any local firms that you know of.
Okay, so you'd like that list, if anybody has any local or that they've worked with, work in Massachusetts, to you by Friday?
By Friday, yep. And then I can get back to them by Monday morning.
Okay. Any other business?
Those lighting, are we still on MLA?
We can still be on MLA?
Okay.
Yeah.
Those lighting pictures, are we just gonna give them all three of those options? Because thought
I
that
was
great.
just looking at like different
I
designs.
totally agree
like-
with you, I
I
like
like
those
those.
too.
Yeah.
Just-
The ones that kind of
And there may
like,
be other ways of doing that,
Number
but I
two,
like
which one was number two?
That's the stairs.
That's
the
stairs.
lighting under the stairs.
well, they also, so these bollards actually have, this is why, this is the picture that I could get to print. They actually have lighting under the little archy thing.
Can you pass that around again?
So
I saw
there's
stairs. That's all I saw was stairs.
there's
Some
actual lights.
stands
The
as
things that
well.
look like the railings are the lights.
And there's like, it's
Oh.
lighting
That's
inside
just
that
it,
goes
the
out.
street.
Yeah, and there's lighting
Right.
underneath
Right.
them, so they
Right.
downlight.
Right. And it's not gonna be blinding the neighbors.
I don't have the faintest idea how much those things cost,
Yeah.
but
Probably
if, you know, if
pretty
that's
fancy,
the
they're
kind
gonna
of,
be expensive.
the idea. Well,
Is
and
anything cheap?
I kind of liked the idea that they also could double as handholds. Like,
Yeah.
if they're at the edge of a path, you can, you know,
I also like the first one, although I worry that they kind of look like old ashtrays. I was like, I really like
I have
them,
to
and
say
now
the
I'm saying, I'm like,
ones-
oh my gosh.
the ones that I did not print because I looked at the price tag and went, but they were so cool. They were about 5 feet high and they looked like twined branches going up, and then the
That's
light
pretty.
shone through the branches and made patterns, and they were so cool. And then I looked at the price and went, oh, okay, no. They were like $10,000 each. I was
Oh,
like, I
yeah.
don't think so.
I was curious the price. I'm
Yeah,
like,
no,
wonder
I
the
mean,
price.
they were, I was like, oh, okay, no.
So I was, okay, they mentioned that we could get just string lights, right?
Yep.
And I'm sure you guys have seen the rope lights. Could we get like rope lights and put them on a nice pole and do something similar to that? Or you probably wouldn't?
Yeah, one-
And what, the like branch?
One
Yeah,
takes
no,
hours,
the,
and we
this
have
thing was
plug
almost like
places, you
a
know.
3-dimensional sculpture, and the light came from inside it. It was, like I said, it was really cool. Yeah, not for that price though. Unless you want to go back to the original budget and be like,
I wonder
the-
if we can
the
incorporate
overrun-
lighting though into the sculpture.
Well, I was gonna say that for like the awning thing that they were talking about.
Yeah.
What a lot of theaters do is essentially use the rope lights along the struts.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it-
they're all LED.
They're
Imagine
not-
doing that.
They're not incredibly bright, but they do provide some kind of atmospheric lighting, so
I like
that's
that.
a little more discreet. All right, so is this what the board wants me to send to Studio MLA and
That
say,
idea.
this kind of
Good
idea
idea.
for,
Yeah.
okay.
That's fine.
I hope I wrote down where I found that. Oh, yes, I did, it's in my desk. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like,
You left a note there.
That'll be your project for the week.
Yeah, there we go.
Find it again, Dave. Where'd I see that?
It'll be a nice change from the FEMA class I'm taking.
Mm.
All right, anyone else for MLA?
So, question, do you know, Giselle, if they ever submitted the survey to, or registered it with the Worcester County Clerk of Deeds?
I do not know, but I will ask.
It would be nice to have that
It
on
should just be
record.
done, yes.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
so anybody's hunting it up again, it's done.
Yes.
Registered. We're not hunting for it.
I can't believe that it wasn't done.
I know.
That's odd.
Seems like something we just.
Yeah, it would have just happened.
Well, I mean, I would have assumed a lot of things about
Yeah.
the assorted plans that we have for the building and, okay, I will ask.
having seen what's there for my house, and like even after paying people hundreds of dollars to get our survey, they got us the wrong one. They told us we were buying a completely different lot of land.
Oh.
That has since been sold off sections of, so,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The plot that we paid $500 for is like, the guy that owned the house before us sold a giant section of like 2 acres, not 2 acres, I don't know, quite a bit though, maybe an entire acre, to our neighbors that like, was like this, and now it's like, whoosh.
Oh, wow.
And like, my husband found it when he was searching through the records, like to figure out what was going on. And it was like, what we paid for was not. So, never assume they know how to do it, I would say.
Anything for other business? I was gonna ask Ed, any update on the that project you were working on with the library?
Oh, I announced it, and we got like 2 things.
I was gonna say,
Give it a little bit of feedback.
I contributed something.
Yes,
so-
you were good.
Okay, one other thing.
And it's gonna be ongoing, you know, every
Yeah.
few months I'll send a little blurb out and say, hey, this is a good time. Plus, teachers have just come back, and I think they're gonna find themselves eventually saying, what the heck am I doing today? Ooh! And then we'll get a flood of things from a class or something.
George Martin cornered me at the book sale. Ben, you need to give me some stuff. I'm assuming it's for you.
No, I think it's
Memories.
for Massog.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's because he's the editor of the
Okay.
Massog
Okay.
Journal.
All
Yep.
similar stuff.
Yeah. But no, well, actually, I should say I submitted, Lita and I jointly submitted something. We submitted when the pandemic first started and they thought the border might close. Lita and I were given papers saying, please allow this employee of the town of Dudley to cross the border. So those are now.
There you go.
It's an 8.5 by 11
Yeah.
sheet.
I hope that 10 years from now, everyone is like, I can't believe that ever happened.
Yeah, well, I was like, it was
I'd like
just,
to say 5
it was
years
so
from now.
bizarre to the two of us that we had to carry these papers. They were like,
Yeah,
don't,
papers
make sure
Don't
you have
lose
them
those
with you just in
papers.
case. And we were like,
Yep.
so, yeah.
Well, I wondered about that, because my kids go to school in Connecticut.
Yeah, the town issued Lita and I
Yeah.
a formal letter that said in accordance with whatever the heck
Yeah.
the thing was, it was,
Employees got that, because I know
Yeah.
both of my boys
You
had
know.
letters they had to carry with them.
please permit the above named to travel to this destination.
My father had to use his a few times because Rhode Island in particular was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, they
with
were.
I'm
they were
pretty
pulling people
sure
over
if
constantly.
I had not, well, Lita and I both come through Bigelow Hollow, so I don't think there's a lot of like
Yeah.
people monitoring the border in Thompson. I think maybe if we'd come a different way, it would be different, but.
Crazy
I do
times.
have something.
Yep.
I misspoke at our last meeting.
Oh, that's probably what I was just gonna ask Ben, that was just gonna ask Ben to do.
When I said that the Hugh and Harriet Crawford, UW and Harriet K. Crawford Endowment Fund was managed by the Crawfords. It's actually managed by the Greater Worcester Community Foundation.
Mhm.
So I reworded it because it becomes very confusing because the library fund is also managed by UWCF.
Okay.
So the wording is, Hugh and Harriet Crawford established the UW and Harriet K. Crawford Endowment Fund through the Greater Worcester Community Foundation and has designated it to benefit our library. The Crawfords received the statements of earnings as they endowed the fund. We are awarded, by our request, annual grants from the interest accrued.
Okay. Ben, can you explain to everybody, so that everybody, and myself included, the Greater Worcester?
Family.
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
explain what that is?
Funny thing, I talked to Kelly Simpson, who's assistant director up there.
Yep.
And she's willing to come down, and I'm gonna make a meeting, at least for you and you, to meet with that, so we can put together something
Okay.
that the whole board can hear about this whole
That would be
project.
great.
So everybody has an idea. Basically, Greater Worcester was started like 40 years ago to benefit the Worcester community. And people put monies up there, and they have a whole investment committee that produces income for Greater Worcester Community Foundation, and then depending on how you set up your particular fund,
Okay.
it can be designated
Yeah.
for Pearl of Crawford Library,
Yep.
or it can be designated that the donor gets to decide how it's given out,
Okay.
as long as it's a 501c3.
Yep.
There are lots of scholarship funds up there, so
Yep.
every spring, a lot of scholarships are given out.
Yep.
But it's basically monies to help Worcester community in general. But we're gonna get a more succinct
And
knowledge
so
of this.
the Crawford Library
The Crawfords.
has
The
two.
Yeah, the Crawfords,
Yes.
when they gave the town $2 million for the purpose of building our library.
It's in that.
Unbeknownst to us, they told us after the fact, they had already set up a fund with $500,000 for the benefit of our library. We heard about it later.
Yep.
And then, so that was the fund they set up for the benefit of the library. Then, after the project was done, we had extra monies, so the trustees set up a fund up there, and obviously to
It's an
benefit the library.
It's an agency fund,
Yes.
is what it's called.
It's what?
An
Agency
agency
fund.
fund.
Okay.
And that's for nonprofits
Mhm.
to set up. But theirs is a designated fund because the funds are designated to to our
And
our
you can
library.
have, there's that, and then the third one's donor advised. There are 3 different types of funds you can set up there, but.
So the
we'll
one
set this
that
up.
the
The
trustees
trustees.
set up is a what fund?
It's an agency fund,
Because it
Okay.
was set up by the agency
Mhm.
that
Right.
the money benefits.
right.
Yeah.
That's with the
Yeah.
Greater Worcester Fund.
All
Community
of this is with
Foundation,
Greater
yeah.
Worcester
There are-
Community Foundation.
There are
And they-
community foundations all over Kingdom Come. It was a
Right.
real popular thing to set up about 40 years ago. So like Wyndham County in Connecticut has a community foundation. Then like New Haven, the city of, has a community foundation that is, yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
So I'll wait
But
till
I've been
I-
working
I'll
on
wait till
that.
I learn more
Exactly.
because I have
would
more
get-
questions,
exactly.
but not for
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah, no, we might as well
Yes.
have the correct person answer it.
Yes. All right, is there any other business?
I had an idea.
Okay.
For programming. So the Webster Library for the month of September had a yoga teacher on Saturday mornings. And I know we were talking about like Saturday's kind of a
Yep.
slow day at the library. I think right now we don't have Saturday, like a running Saturday program, right?
No, we don't have a running one. We have a lot of stuff that happens on Saturdays, but we don't have like the same thing happening every week.
Okay. So is the Fells room usually used on Saturdays
Yeah.
then? Yeah.
It's
Okay.
usually in use.
I was gonna say, it was
In
awesome.
use for what? Because I
Well,
just
like,
heard
we've got-
how there's not much activity on Saturdays.
Oh, no, like
That's-
people, if there's not a program, people don't come in on Saturday. But like
Right.
Belita's doing something like 12 programs in the next 6 months and most of those are on Saturdays.
But will she use the children's room?
No, she usually uses the Fells room.
Because this yoga program was great, and the teacher is a Dudley resident who's also teaching in the Dudley schools.
Oh, yeah.
So afterwards, I was like, "Can we get you to Dudley Library?" You
She's
know?
already taught there, if you're talking about, what's her name?
Yes,
St.
and
Francis.
yes, St. Francis.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
started
she-
teaching there,
yeah,
but she said
and
it
then
was
it-
2 directors ago.
Mm.
So
There was
I
only
was
one
thinking
director ago,
Yeah.
because she's only.
Right.
It was before my
It was
time.
before, that's all. It was
Um,
before.
But it's such a great program because one of the things I noticed about it was that the people coming and, they're all women because that's mostly who does yoga. But I was the youngest one, or definitely one of the youngest ones, and it was all that like middle ground that the library doesn't always attract because there's a lot of like older retired people who have time who are in the library or like
Kids.
young people with kids.
Share
And I
yoga.
was like, okay, this is a great way. It's Saturday. It's bringing people in on Saturdays, and it's this like middle group that we,
Yeah.
I think, would like to bring in.
Well,
so.
for quite a number of years, we had chair yoga.
Gosh, that
yoga.
was it.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that had quite a following.
But again,
right.
that was an older
It's
crowd
different crowd.
during the
Yeah.
middle of the week. But yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's a different yoga crowd, but I mean, it
different,
it
yeah.
was,
I have it, yeah.
and I just
Joanne
didn't know.
Francis, was it?
That totally stopped, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well,
Yeah, I think they had
the
it.
pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Charlton
Because
has
that had quite
kids
followed
yoga,
too.
Yeah, it did.
but Lena does
Big.
so well with programs for the kids that she's like spot on. She's got tons of stuff for kids. So kids yoga we don't need, but I just thought this would be a good idea to bring to you to bring in kind of
Yeah.
the middle.
I wonder if it could be something monthly.
Yeah.
during the
Or even,
winter
like,
months.
an evening, maybe we could even do, like, if there's an evening that we don't have a lot of programs going on, right? 'Cause you have the,
I would look at the
Or are we
schedule,
open
I
Monday
would
and
like,
Thursday?
yeah, I would look at the schedule. and
just
see.
throwing that out there to you.
Yeah, I mean, I can look at it.
It was awesome.
We're, Thursday nights are a bit busy, but
And
we can look
I
at it.
think for the winter too, we need to be careful. Hopefully COVID won't be expanding.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
that's
Yeah.
like, Joanne, who does chair yoga.
Yeah.
The last time I spoke to her, I left it that she would contact me when she was comfortable resuming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and
Chair
then there's totally
yoga,
different age
and,
ranges,
you
too.
know,
6 feet between one of
And she would get 25 people in the Fells room all doing their stretching
Yes.
or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
and-
they had trouble
Yeah,
fitting
they
everybody
had
in
trouble
there.
fitting everyone in there,
It was fun.
so-
It was a nice thing to see.
Yeah,
exactly.
but so, that's one of
They
those
were
things that.
busy, young man. Do you happen to know this yoga teacher personally?
No,
I do.
I was just,
Well, I wouldn't say personally.
I took her card.
yeah.
Yeah, so she's a teacher at the middle school. She was Colby's cross-country coach for years. Sorry.
Nope.
She also goes to my church. So
Yeah, yeah.
she's great. She's very knowledgeable. I know.
The entire world goes to Tasha's church,
Julie.
in case you wonder.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious.
I didn't even think of that until I said
Touch
it.
base off
your
with her, but
world.
she may say, no, evenings don't work with this group. She
Right.
just may have a thing. She's, I've tried evenings, that doesn't work. It usually
no,
has to be
she,
but successful.
Yeah, actually, Cole, was it Cole? Somebody told me that she recently stopped coaching the middle school cross country because she was trying to do more yoga. So, and I know that she really wanted to get back into the library when she had to stop for whatever reason it was that she had to stop. So.
Well, because I had asked her, she said that the issue was that the library was having so many Saturday programs
Yeah.
that they were scheduling the Fells room for the programs, and then she'd show up to do yoga, and there was a program in there, and she was like, where am I gonna?
Yeah.
So
That's
Could
a
she
problem.
do it in the children's room that's with a door?
The story time room?
Yeah.
Oh, that's,
little.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
There's
That's-
Well, I'm
no
just
way.
thinking
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the program, she's only have 8 people.
Oh, the
Yeah.
cricket
do
thing?
the
No,
football.
because they
Like
need the
other
big
things?
tables for that. Yeah, no, I mean, we're pretty good at juggling our space the best we can. but-
Actually, didn't she was doing like right after school classes for a while.
Who was? Yoga?
Julie, yeah, she was doing, so she would show up at like 3:30.
Yeah, I remember from that late
3:30. It
afternoon.
was like
Mhm.
an earlier time, so it wouldn't necessarily conflict with an evening program.
I just love the idea of the different crowd, the different age
Right.
group.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fabulous. We could grab
which I'm
that.
not sure we could get at 3:30 in the afternoon, because
No.
they're generally like
Working.
working women, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, more
Something
thoughts,
to-
yeah,
yeah.
more
Yeah.
thoughts, but a neat idea.
Get people back, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
While
exactly.
we can.
So I recently took a trip to Alaska. I had a wonderful time. And I, of course, had to check out the libraries. One happened to be perfect to use the restroom. So, but it was in Juneau. They had this beautiful library. It was 3 stories high. The first 2 stories was a garage. The library was on the 3rd floor.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. It was, and then they had an outside space, which was just like a balcony
Or whatever.
that overlooked the water. I mean, it was spectacular. It was really bright and airy. It was beautiful. And I went in and talked to them. And in Juneau, that was one of 3, because some towns and stuff have more
Sure.
than one. And Juneau, that was one of 3, and that was right in downtown. But it was
So
really
was there
different.
parking garage for the
Yeah.
use of?
Yeah, because you can't put a parking garage
Sure.
underground in
Yeah.
Alaska.
Yeah.
Did they really need that much parking for the library?
Yeah.
Well, they do
Neat.
garages a lot in Alaska because if you're in a garage, you're protected from snow and ice.
Elements.
So there's not a lot of on-street parking. Even
like
where
in
my
Quebec,
cousins live,
too.
which is not a very big town, there's a lot of garage parking and covered parking.
Cool.
So it was really cool. One of the things that I saw that they had, and I don't know if we have done this in the Dudley Library or if we've done it with the, is it Jocelyn? No, what's the name of the senior housing in Dudley?
Joshua Place.
Joshua Place, that's it. I don't know if we've done any type of programs with them. They had these bags, memory bags. Does that sound familiar at all to anybody?
Full of brains.
It was for people, for elderly people for Alzheimer's. It was memory bags for families to do with
Oh, to
their
push the-
seniors
yeah.
for conversation and like to hear stories. And they had all these different things in each bag, and each bag was labeled with like a topic.
Oh,
And they
fun.
were really nice in a zippered pouch, and like you take it out and then you go to, you know, your grandparents' house and you look through the bag together, and it was like, what a great conversation.
Conversation starter, yeah.
I
And
thought
then
that
you
was
bring it
really
back,
good.
it's like a,
It's a,
Yeah,
it's one of the things,
Mhm.
oh, that's awesome.
Yep, they had like 4 or 5 bags, and they had all different topics.
Interesting.
And it was for like, to do with the elderly, like, yeah.
Who designed it? Did they do this on their own, or is that something they?
probably Google it.
I don't know if it was a
Yeah.
grant that they
Probably-
received. I didn't ask that
Yeah.
question. I don't know, but it was just out, and I wasn't talking. They had already gone back to work. So I didn't want to interrupt them again. But yeah, I just noticed what it was, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And I thought that was something, yeah, to do with the elderly population. Yeah, it was really interesting. So that was my little thing on libraries. So, any other comments, observations?
I have a question. What did the 12 programs week has, do you know?
So I know we've got a couple of cricket classes. We have the making a book bag, which is making a bag out of a book bag. She and I are doing that. If we can figure out, we've kind of tried a prototype and it did not go according to the tutorials, so it's tentatively scheduled. We've got a couple of her programs.
Is there a Bemis workshop too?
There's a Bemis
Since
workshop.
it's in December.
We've got the Baubles and Bling sale is on Saturday. That eats
Got my
that.
stuff ready.
Her Playful Engineers is on a Saturday. She's got another one that is not definitely scheduled yet, but she's looking at, that she and I actually saw and said, hey, what do you think about this? And she's like, ooh. So, and then there are at least 10 Saturdays that I know of before June that she has something. Plus we've got, some adult programs and so on going on as well.
So we're getting busy on the Saturdays.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get people coming in to like browse, but, well, of course you've got everything else going on. When I was a kid, you didn't have sports games and everything happening on the weekends, and now you do, so.
I was actually surprised because, in Webster, the yoga was from 10 to 11:30, and while we were doing the yoga, there were just tons of people going by. Like people with kids, like people without kids. And just like,
So what's
wow.
bringing
So-
them in
yeah, that's what
there
I
and
wanna
not bringing
know.
them into our library?
Is it just a different community? Is it just
Well, we
like,
get a lot of Webster residents. We get a
Yeah.
lot of Webster residents coming in. Just Saturdays are just not busy days for us. Other days are, but not Saturdays.
Yeah, maybe because we're open evenings. I don't know if they're.
Yeah,
open
I mean, we're
evenings,
open-
maybe.
They are.
Yeah,
have
and
more-
we
I
have
think
to
they
be
have more
open
evenings,
evenings.
don't they?
I don't know. We may offer more stuff during the week that people want to come to.
Yeah, because like
You
we
know.
come on, Tuesdays for story time. So since
Well,
we've
and
already
like,
gone,
I know
maybe
Lita
that's-
was trying to coordinate who did story time on what day with the libraries in the area. And she does 3 story times a week.
Yeah,
on
she's
any
a
week.
Star. She's a rock
And
star.
Webster was like, oh, we do a story time on this day.
Yep.
And Oxford, I think it was Oxford, was like, I think we're doing story time on Tuesdays. And so we have a lot of people coming in during the week and not so many on the weekends.
I wonder, if you could ask, are they the same families coming, or is it different families on different days? Like, geez, I always see.
It's a different age group.
Oh, okay.
Each
It's a
story
different
time is
age
a
group.
different
Okay.
age group.
Yeah. All right.
Each-
Yeah, so she has like, we go to the preschool on Tuesday, then she has a toddler on Thursday.
And then there's babies.
babies on Friday.
Babies is, yeah. So it's sometimes it is the same family if they have kids in the right age group, but no, it's generally a very different.
And what is the allotment of how many go to story hours? Is it 12 slots?
Right now she's doing, well, she doesn't have a limit on the babies
Mhm.
because they don't take up a lot of room. I don't remember what she's doing for the others, but right now she's doing story time out in the children's area, not in the story time room, so it's not as enclosed a space.
Yeah.
The
It's
window's
really
open
good.
though in that,
Yeah, so there's,
open the windows.
there's more, there's more space to spread out, because the story time room itself is not very big. Especially not with like the craft tables and stuff in there, so. And she's been doing a take-home craft instead of doing a craft with the kids.
So could the tables be removed from the children's
story- in
area
the
for the
s-
craft?
In
if
the
she's not
story
doing it?
time room?
Yeah, if that, would that help her for space?
No, it's not gonna be big enough, and we don't have any place to put those tables. If they're not in the story time room, they're gonna be in the middle of the floor, somewhere else. But no, so she's
Yeah,
doing.
without
the-
doing a craft, being out in the major
fine,
room is
yeah.
not a big deal.
Yeah.
No.
Those, you make the mess in that room.
Yeah.
But if you're just reading a book out
But
there
she's
telling
doing, the songs
The
and the
song, yeah.
games and whatever, and then doing the
everything but
take-home
making
craft.
the mess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we've been going and,
I like the take-home craft, that's a nice thing.
yeah, she's been, with the older kids, she does like a little letter, so they're allowed to like cut and glue, and there's tables, and it's working really well. Like, she does a really good job, there's enough space for everyone to space out, and so far so good.
Cool. Good.
But yeah, maybe that's why. there's
Yeah,
more
I mean, I
people
think
coming
we
on
get a lot
weekends.
more families with kids during the week
Yeah.
than the libraries around us do, certainly. And we have a lot more programs for different ages of kids.
Oh, yeah. No,
No.
she's rocking
Well, and then
it.
we've got like Pokemon Club, which is like middle schoolers and like 5th grade and up tend to come to
And
that.
that's a hard group.
Is Harrison
get-
still doing that? for
Harrison
us?
is doing that.
Good.
He's also
Great.
doing a weekly Dungeons and Dragons group, which
Oh, good.
is doing
So he's doing
fairly
2
steadily.
groups?
Yep.
Nice.
Great, I'm glad.
But again, is kind of elementary, middle school age, although that's sort of open, Dungeons and Dragons is kind of open to all ages. But so we have a lot of people coming in, and we're starting to get some of the teenagers coming in after school again. So I think they're coming, we see those during the week, not.
Excellent.
All right. Any other observations, comments? If not, I will accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
That's adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Done.
See you all up. Oh, you know what? You can be shut off. That's okay. I'm done.
No, I didn't shut off.
Oh, I really liked the Scarecrow event. Can you talk about the Scarecrow event and what's coming in October? Because our next meeting is the 26th, and that's going to be too late. Sorry.
So it's actually,
thought
it's
of
a
it.
town, it's not us, it's the town.
Yeah.
Last year, Lita and I did the bulk of the work on the town Scarecrow contest.
Yeah.
We're kind of open now. We kind of do not have the time.
It was
so-
difficult going from place to place.
So all of the scarecrows,
Did you go, Ed?
the town
Oh, you went?
Scarecrow contest is happening in conjunction with the Spooktacular, which is on the
Parade.
28th.
Yep.
It will, as always, start at the library. We'll have a parade up the hill. The town is doing, I don't even know what the town is doing. We are doing the pictures for the costume contest again. Lita and I will be there. We are insisting that we will be outside. We're not quite comfortable with hordes
fine.
of people in small spaces. But
That's fine.
the Scarecrow contest for the town will be happening, and the Scarecrows will all be on the lawn of Town Hall. So people who come to the Spooktacular will be voting.
Right there.
So what's the deadline? Do you remember the deadline for bringing them to the town hall?
No, it's on
It's all on the
Facebook.
town website.
I was gonna say it's on the
Yeah, I
town
don't know that.
website, because
Okay.
it's the town's project.
Well, I
It
really
was-
thought that was great.
It was supposed to be the town's project last year, and Lita and I sort of took over the bulk of it, and,
I'm sure they
we-
appreciated that.
We said this year that, I'm sorry, we've got programs going on, we've got people in the building this year, we just can't, we don't have the time, so.
Okay.
Excellent.
I now accept that motion. And it was seconded?
Yes, it was.
There you go, we're good. All set, thank